Hello, welcome. We are now in November and I want to do a quick little summer and fall reading list wrap up. I took quite a bit longer on my summer reading list than I thought I would, but that's okay. I just want to talk about all the books I've read in the past long time so we can move on to the December TBR, which is very big. So first, let's talk about the books that I've kind of already mentioned in my summer reading list to get them out of the way. We have The Garbage King, the first DNF in a long time. I really thought I would like this book and I'm so disappointed. It has a great premise. I talked about it in my What I'm Reading Summer 2019 video, but it's basically about some kids, a couple kids in Ethiopia who come from very different circumstances and they basically survive together on the streets. And I thought that was cool, but if you consider more than once to DNF a book, that's probably a bad sign. This has a great premise, and I did like the characters a little bit, but it just got so boring that I dropped it. Next, we have a very hyped up fantasy that I finally got around to reading, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And I did mention the author of the last one, Elizabeth Laird. But anyways, Victoria Aveyard, good writer. And is this worth the hype? I would say it's a little bit overhyped. This is a very average fantasy. I did enjoy it. Like, I like the plot. I think the plot is my favorite thing about this. And my least favorite thing is the characters. I found Mare, the main character, to be a little bit annoying. I don't know why, a little bit bland. And the two other characters, the love interests, kind of, I didn't like either of them that much, but I did like the plot twist, or plot twists, and I would buy the second book. I also talked about The Money Pit Mystery by Erik Walters. I've already gotten rid of it, sorry. But I talked about it in my 24-hour readathon video. That's the book I was finishing, and it was enjoyable, but a little bit forgettable, a little bit mediocre, and that's why I donated it to my local used bookstore. The Rosie Project by Graham Sinsion. This was probably my favorite book I read in summer. I already have a review up. I don't need to talk about this in depth, but it's one of the few romance books, especially considering this, I'm not even the target age demographic. I really enjoyed this. In the summer, I also read To Kill a Mockingbird, the graphic novel, and it is beautiful. I enjoyed it just as much as I thought I would. This one got, I think, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I liked it actually a little bit better than the novel, although the novel is beautiful. The final summer book I'll be discussing is The Case for Christ, a non-fiction Christian look at the proof behind the existence of the character Christ, Jesus Christ, and also what proved to this lawyer guy who was previously an atheist that Jesus might actually be a real person. I really enjoyed this as much as I thought I would. It was a gift on my Hawaii trip, It was a gift. Oh my goodness, the background is not nice to look at. So messy. I don't have time to clean it up. Don't judge me. Before we move on to my fall books, I'd like to mention the manga I've been reading throughout the spring, summer, and fall. That would be The Promised Neverland, a great psychological fantasy series about kids in an orphanage who find out that they're being bred for demons, monsters, to eat them, and chaos goes on. I've just been reading that chapter by chapter as it releases, and I really enjoy that. I've also really been enjoying Spy X Family. It's this awesome action drama comedy. Basically, the father is a spy who's on a mission, the mother is an assassin, and the child is a psychic who can read minds and knows the secrets of her parents. And stuff happens, and it's very funny. I love it. I adore it. I highly recommend this as well as The Promised Neverland. I've also been reading One Piece. I've just been reading that for years. That's just a given. I also read Cheese Sweet Home, a very cute, very wholesome manga series about a cat. So, okay, think Yotsuba. You know Yotsuba? It's like Yotsuba follows the adventures, the daily adventures of a sweet, naive, pure child, and Cheese Sweet Home is that, but a cat. Footage of me holding Cheese Sweet Home will be here because they're library books and I had to return them. And since we're on the topic of graphic novels, I read Snoopy the Collection. Snoopy was my favorite character in the Peanuts comics, and I love this cute compilation of all of his comics. I've also been reading the manga Bible series, like this one, Manga Messiah, all that. There are 6 volumes, I think, that my friend lent me, and they've been enjoyable. They're like just graphic novel versions of biblical stories, and kind of fictionalized here and there, and I like them. Okay, on to the fall reading list, all the wonderful books I've read in the past few months. The first is a non-fiction book, Gully Farm, by Mary Heemstra, and this is the true story of homesteaders coming to Canada from Britain, or the UK, and I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I thought it'd be like a boring historical account, but it's more like a journal/novel style kind of thing, from the eyes of the kid, from Mary, as she watches her parents debate should they stay in Canada despite the long, awful winters, blah blah blah. And yeah, it read like a novel. It was awesome. The second largest book I own, the Sherlock Holmes collection, the complete one, of all the stories and all the novels. I didn't read this whole thing in fall. I did a buddy read with Olivia at Olivia's catastrophe of the Baskervilles story, Hound of the Baskervilles, and then I reread A Study in Scarlet. So that's just 2 books, you know. I also read All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I Am Broken. This was such a sad... Oh my goodness. It was such a sad story. I love the characters, and it reminds me of why I adore YA contemporary. I think it tackled the issue it wanted to very, very, very well. It's about mental health. It's about these 2 teenagers experiencing very real depression in their lives from different circumstances, and how they deal with it and how it brings them together. It's very much like The Fault in Our Stars, and this is another one that got hyped up way back when it came out in like 2015, and I missed that. Now I want to talk about poetry, because I got a couple poetry collections or short story collections, and the first is a very, very special one. I won Dark to Light by David Rudolph in a giveaway. I was so lucky. David Rudolph is an independent author, and this is his short poetry collection, a lot like mine, a lot like me, except I didn't print mine, but this, first of all, the cover is awesome, and thank you so much, David Rudolph, for picking me to win the giveaway, and signing it. Oh my goodness, look, he signed it. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. The lighting's kind of... Okay. So, Opalescent, I hope you enjoy reading Dark to Light. And then he signed it. And that was awesome. And I love poetry, and this book was no exception. I've marked it here for things to talk about. So let's get into a little mini review, because you should definitely check out David Rudolph and whatever he makes in the future. I did really enjoy this. I just have a few things I didn't like about it, so let's talk about that. First of all, this is a poetry collection based around realism and dark or light, as the title says, experiences in someone's life. And I thought that was great. I thought it was really well done. The one thing I didn't like is that it's a little bit repetitive, if that makes sense. I don't know if poetry collections do this, but it rhymes like a whole soul, dirt hurt. That's one stanza. Stone unknown, ground found. And that's not bad on its own at all. Like, all of these poems are great. I love them. It's just that most, I think 85% or 90% of the poems have this structure, this rhyme scheme. and I started really feeling it around the middle of the book. But my favorite poem from this book goes away from that rhyming scheme. So my favorite poem is called The Fire Inside, and I'll just read a very short part of it. The fire inside burns so bright, it's strong and unrelenting. I try to tame the flame burning inside, but time makes it only grow brighter. I love that poem. That's only a small part of it. And I also really like the poem Who Are You?, which is a thing totally on its own. And the poem Regret summarizes kind of what this whole book is about. A lot of this was so relatable, especially that poem Regret. There are many decisions in life I regret. I wish to take them back, but in stone they are set. The people I've hurt, the things I have said, these decisions constantly replay in my head. That is something I've experienced throughout my adolescence. I can't say throughout my life, but wow, that really hit me hard, and so many of these poems did. I very much highly recommend this book. Dark to Light is fantastic. There are so many modern poetry books that I haven't really enjoyed that much, although there is great poetry, believe me, and this is one of them. I'm so glad I received this. I feel very lucky to have a signed copy, so thank you again, David Rudolph. The other poetry collection, it's also an anthology of short stories, is The Wells Gray Writer's Circle Collected Works 2015, and this is the one I said in one of my NaNoWriMo vlogs that's a bit ugly, but on the inside it is wonderful. So the poems start near the end, but most of it is short stories by people, by the way, who live around me. These are local people who self-published this book, so try to look past the cover and look at what's inside, because they all worked very hard to make this. With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, I really hope I'm saying that right, is probably my favorite book of 2019, if On the Come Up by Angie Thomas doesn't eventually beat that. I haven't finished reading it yet, but With the Fire on High is awesome. It's one of those books I was very scared about, because with it dealing with culture, and it's the kind of book that has a lot of pop culture references in it that I thought would get cringy or repetitive, but no, it did not. I loved it. I really appreciated that it had short chapters. I think short chapters always help me get out of a reading slump, and I was in a little bit of a reading slump, especially after reading The Garbage King by Elizabeth Laird. So With the Fire on High was very refreshing, very enjoyable. I loved reading about the main character who has a passion for cooking, and I got so attached to all the characters, oh my goodness. And I read it in like 3 days, despite expecting to finish it in a week. And yeah, that's it. Those are all the books I read in summer and autumn. And it's the last week of November. As I'm recording this, I'm recording it very last minute, so this may come up on Friday or Saturday, I don't know, but oh my goodness, I'm doing so many readathons in December. You're gonna see all the TBR videos. I'm doing 25 days of manga, I'm doing reindeer readathon, I'm doing a cozy little readathon, and fantasy-a-thon.